Once again, it is I, the Nomad, coming to you live from the wastelands of the internet. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, it is time to once again recap the news. How's it going, everybody? I see that Matt Barkley. How are you doing, Matt? Hope you're having an okay kind of a day. I know things can be rough at times. It is what it is for all of us, unfortunately. Um, but that being said, let's just get to the news, shall we? I know that everybody's it's Christmas time. Everyone feels the crunch of money, especially in today's economy. It's it is what it is. I know. Do the best you can, but remember it is Christmas time. It is the holiday season. Enjoy what you're thankful for today. But on to the news. In the Ukraine, more exhausted soldiers are abandoning their posts. On the first day of Russia's full-scale invasion, Roman Solomoniuk, I guess is how you would say it, I'm not trying to butcher your name, shocked his family when he volunteered to fight. But over 2.5 years later, he's joined the growing number of Ukrainian soldiers who have called it quits. First, the 45-year-old dug trenches near the Russian border. Later, he shot down deadly Shahed drones. But then Roman fell out with a heavy-handed officer, and he's now officially wanted for leaving his unit without permission. All right, that's called AWOL. Since 2022, Ukraine opened nearly 96,000 criminal cases against servicemen who have abandoned their positions since the Russian invasion, according to data from the Prosecutor General's office. That represents a six-fold increase over the past 2 years, and most of the cases were opened this year. As Ukraine's army struggles to hold back Russian advances, its major disadvantage is becoming more acute. Yet Kiev is seeking to avoid a conscription drive that could disrupt the economy and unsettle a war-weary population. As a result, some troops are deployed indefinitely with no chance of a break. New troops to relieve them are scarce. Many military personnel are simply exhausted, President Volodymyr Zelensky said in a radio interview earlier this month. But the Ukrainian leader resisted setting a deadline to discharge troops, making seasoned soldiers wonder why they should risk their lives when millions of men, many of them younger, don't serve. For them, going absent without leave, or AWOL, becomes the only respite, a chance to recuperate and tend to their family lives. Fatigue plays a role, or there are personal circumstances like when a soldier's wife is giving birth, said Alexander Hirnuk. I'm not trying to butcher your name, of Ukraine's military law enforcement service, or because there's nobody else to lead the platoon and the commander didn't grant leave. Kiev doesn't release official numbers of soldiers who have gone AWOL. When asked how many servicemen are currently classified as such, here Chuck right, declined to comment. Oleg, I'm just going to call him Oleg, right? Declined to comment on sensitive information, but noted that 40 to 60% of all AWOL cases return on their own. Desertion, when a soldier leaves for good, is considered a graver sin, but is less frequent, according to the prosecutor general's office. Um, Quick, send them more shit. Okay. There has always been an issue with how things are going. They should have conscription. They should have declared conscription immediately. And I'm not. I understand the concerns. I understand the economic concerns that he's referring to. That they're all talking about. These are not, you know, illegitimate. But the problem is you won't have a country. How can you say you did everything to prevent the Russians from winning the war when you haven't ordered conscription? When you haven't ordered a draft of everybody, of every male you could possibly get? Here's the dirty little secret, though. It wouldn't matter. Okay? That's where the real problem is. It wouldn't matter. The Russians can keep bringing in reserve after reserves. They have that much excess manpower. I'm not saying the Russians are in some ways better off. All right, but they are. When it comes to manpower, they are better off. Now, their mindset is a problem, but unfortunately for the Ukrainians, they have the same mindset. A guy runs away because a heavy-handed officer got upset with him. Really? That's what's going to run you out? Now, we don't know the full story. That's granted. But what it's coming down to is crunch time. People are getting tired of the war. Yes. But you know who else is getting tired of the war? The American people were funding it. I wouldn't fight for NATO either, to be fair. No, that's true. But then again, you wouldn't have volunteered to go fight for NATO. Let's get to the next story. Hi, good morning, James. France faces moment of truth with government on the brink of collapse. Prime Minister Michael Barnier warned that France has reached its moment of truth as far-right leader Marine Le Pen is set to join a left-wing coalition to topple his government as soon as this week. And it happened, right? Le Pen's national rally, as well as leftist alliance, filed motions on Monday to hold a no confidence vote against the government. Parties that support Barnier don't have the numbers to counter a collective move from the two groups, meaning the administration could fall as early as Wednesday. Ding, 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 ding. Hey, Ms. Murder. where am I? That's what you're looking for, Ms. Murder. A little Jetson, fan service as well. Okay. Um, let's talk about this. France. Okay, Macron is in a problem. Macron has a massive issue. Okay, but it's one of his own making. Okay, now Macron is the president. Okay, he selects a prime minister who then is voted on by their parliament. Right, most of the work is done through the parliament. Okay. um, so when it comes to politics in France, as you can tell, it's been pretty hectic, and people have gotten more and more upset as time has gone by, and the problems aren't going to fix themselves because the problem is government overspending. Okay, now Macron has gotten in trouble because he has told his leftist allies, all right, well, we can't keep spending on these projects. And so his leftist allies, the ones who helped put him in office, are turning on him because they have to go into austerity measures to try and fix the budget deficit. That's the reality. Austerity is not it's not something people want, of course, but it's guess what? You don't have a choice. It's what's absolutely critical at this time to maintain a working government. And this coming at a time when, in their minds, the whole world in Europe is under fire because of what's happening in the Ukraine. France was looking at the Ukraine as the wonderful, let's get on the American robbery train. Let's let's rob the United States some more. And it's turned out the Americans are being a bit stingy and they're not letting them rob as much as they wanted. So the EU or the EU, which is basically controlled by two groups, the Germans and the French. Now, as the Americans know, they know America's going to pull back. The EU now has said, "Well, we need more money, and we just keep taking it." They robbed plenty. Yeah, they know they have. The piggy bank is beginning to become closed to them, and they're starting to feel it. And Marine Le Pen, who's been waiting in the wings, slowly building power after all the nonsense that they did to her, all right, is going to sit up there and come to collect debts. Now, a good portion of the problem is their own corruption, but that's it. See, even though Barner submitted nearly all of Le Pen's demands to tweak France's 2025 budget, she said her party still wouldn't back the bill, paving the way for the government collapse. Probably because when they said nearly all, the one major issue that she had, they refused to give her, which is we're going to come through the government and freaking find out who's making what, where, when, and where. So yeah, France's collapsed government is now in turmoil, but that's okay because we've got plenty of turmoil around the other area. South Korea, of course, lifted the president's 6-hour martial law decree. All right, as lawmakers reject military rule. However, the parliament fails to pass the impeachment motion against President Yoon. South Korea's parliament on Saturday today failed to pass the President Yoon Suk Yeol's impeachment motion, as most of the ruling People Power Party, all right, lawmakers refused to vote on it. So, in other words, the guy who declared martial law, that all the lawmakers basically said, no, we're not going to authorize martial law, all right, and who attempted initially to prevent them from even voting on it by trying to encircle the parliament, only to have only to have the troops and the police that he called up to defend it to prevent this from happening, basically let them in. All right, although some of them made a big show of climbing over the walls to get in, but for the most part, they weren't really blocked. Now, why? I know some people are like, well, what made this guy think? What made him think that he could get away with this? I've heard people go, oh, well, what made this president think he could do it? Maybe because this is the first time in South Korea he didn't. A president who declared martial law didn't get away with it. That's pointing it out. Now, granted, it hasn't been done for 40 something years, but dude, that's how they've kind of been for 40, 60 years. They've allowed that kind of crap. China announces ban on rare minerals to the United States. Oh no. What are we going to do? China said Tuesday it would begin banning the export of several rare minerals to the United States. An escalation of the tech war between the world's two biggest powers. The move comes a day after the Biden administration tightened China's access to advanced American technology. Huh, imagine that. The ban signals all right, Beijing's willingness to engage in supply chain warfare by blocking the export of important components used to make valuable products like weaponry and semiconductors. Sales of gallium, germanium, antimony, and so-called super hard metals to the United States could be halted immediately on grounds that they have dual military and civilian uses, China's Ministry of Commerce said. China. Do it. Do it. Please. Do it. It's rant time, so I'm going to let little fan service go on for a bit. First of all, rare earth metals and the other types of metals that China supposedly has, they have some, okay, but they purchase most of it, okay, from African countries that have been discovered in known reserves. It's not like the United States can't sit up there and turn around and walk into these areas and say, you know what, instead of selling it to China, sell it to us. We have more money. Okay. Okay. I'm just putting it out there. That's the first thing. The second thing is people act like the United States doesn't have reserves of all this stuff. We have plenty. All right. People think that things like lithium and things like that are oh yeah, we rely upon the rest. We have plenty of lithium in the United States. We don't mine it because of the stupid environmental laws and several other regulations. We don't mine it here, but we could. It's estimated. I think I heard this somewhere, and I don't know how accurate it is, but it's probably pretty accurate. That the lithium that they found in Nevada, in the state of Nevada, is larger than any other lithium reserves on the planet. Well, why aren't we mining it then? Why aren't we mining it? Exactly. Now, lithium isn't the only thing. Germanium, antimony, some of these other things, right? But we don't need to rely completely on China for this stuff, quite frankly. And what's more is Necessity is the mother of invention. If you can't use one product, use a different type. And we're very good at that, by the way. We're very good at replacing things. It was a great idea to outsource everything. Disgusting allegations made against Kentucky judge shot dead in his office by the sheriff. A Kentucky judge, shot dead by a sheriff in his office, ran it like a brothel and was having sex with a girl there, according to a witness statement to the police. District Judge Kevin Mullins, 54, was allegedly seen with an unidentified female in the same chambers where he was shot and killed by Letcher County Sheriff Sean Mickey Steins, 43, in September. I did this story and I was now this is an update to it. The allegation against the judge was made by Sabrina Adkins, a woman who was raped by one of Stein's deputies, Ben Fields, according to police audio obtained by News Nation. I seen Judge Mullins having sex with a girl in his office in the judge's chambers, she said in newly obtained recording of a police interview. Adkins can also be heard saying that the former deputy's Sheriff Fields does have some videotapes of some stuff in the judge's chambers, just with girls' sexual and stuff. She alleged that the tapes featured Fields and some higher ups in the chambers having sex, suggesting that there may be as yet unidentified others involved in the sextortion scam. Atkins said in a federal lawsuit that she could not afford to pay for an ankle monitor and she did not want to return to the Letcher County Jail. Fields then coerced her into performing sexual favors so she could remain under house incarceration, according to a federal lawsuit in 2022. This is the judge, and this is the sheriff that shot his ass. Okay? And no, we're not going to be doing a Britney Spears story. All right. All right. I'm just putting it out there. All right. So basically, this judge, who the sheriff had been friends with him. All right. Couldn't believe the stories. This is how I see it happening. Is Sheriff Steins had been told stories about certain things. All right. And he didn't believe them because his deputy, all right, one of his deputies, Fields, was telling, no, 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 don't believe all that crap, right? Then he found out that Fields was engaged in this shit. And he immediately fired him when it came out. Fields then sit up there and started narking on the judge, and apparently this judge, he had been given this judge, cases that the judge asked for, basically funneling women to this judge who then would rape these women. And then this guy thought he was a good friend. And he had been basically now doing this. Now, it's either that or the sheriff himself was like, I'm going down, but I'm taking you sons of bitches with me. Because he was involved in it too. It's interesting, right? Why the sheriff went nuts. It's There's more to come out on this. It'll be interesting to see what the end result is. It really will. Meanwhile, in the halls of Congress, a House staffer arrested Monday for entering the Capitol complex with ammunition. Capitol Police said that Michael Hopkins, who is the communications director for the communications director for Representative Joe Morrell, all right, who was fired. A House staffer was arrested Monday morning entering the Cannon House office building with ammunition, according to a statement from the U.S. Capitol Police. Capitol Police said the staffer is Michael Hopkins, who is the communication director for Joe Morell, Democrat from New York. New York. I don't know New York, New York, but he's from New York. USCP officers noticed what appeared to be ammunition on an x-ray scan. After a hand search of the bag, officers found 4 ammunition magazines and 11 rounds of ammunition. The staffer told the officers he had forgot the ammunition was in his bag. The 38-year-old Hopkins was arrested, and he is facing charges for unlawful possession of ammunition, including one charge for possession of a high-capacity magazine. Well, we do communicate through bullets. So this guy was fired, subsequently fired later on. Once this was known, basically he made a Democrat look bad. This is can't do that. Democrats cannot allow themselves to be looked upon as hypocritical fools. Which obviously, when you're a Democrat, you have to be an anti-gun nut. And if one of your staffers is running around and enjoys guns, can't have that. Can't have that. Meanwhile, in Italy, an Italian police arrest nun over links to the mafia. A nun is among 24 people arrested in northern Italy in connection with a mafia investigation, Italian police have said. The nun, named in the Italian press as Sister Anna Donnelly, all right, was arrested for that's a good mafia name, Donnelly. I hate to say it, but that makes sense. Sister Donnelly. Sister Donnelly was arrested for allegedly acting as a go-between for the, I'm not even going to attempt to pronounce that name, all right, mafia, and its jailed gang members. Police arrested 2 politicians and seized more than 1.8 million euros, all right, worth of arrests in raids across several towns in the Lombardy and Veneto regions, as well as Calabria in the south. The arrests are the result of a 4-year investigation into this mafia group, which which is one of the Europe's most influential and dangerous criminal organization. Okay, I'll try and pronounce this now. Nagrata, Nagranga, Nan, Nagr, Nagr, I can't I don't know. Statements released by the coalition forces behind the sting detail allegations that the nun leveraged her position as a volunteer at the prison. Brichesi Cabrineri said she was an unsuspecting figure whose religious role allowed her free access to the penitentiary facilities. Police statements did not identify the politicians or any others targeted in the investigation. So basically, they outed the nun, gave her name, and said, "But we're not telling you who else we arrested." They were aided by a sniffer dog searching for weapons and drugs, as well as cash dogs, which are trained to search for cash. Investigators allege the group primarily used scrap metal trade businesses as a front to launder money, totaling approximately 12 million euros in laundered cash, prosecutors said. Originating in the impoverished state of Calabria, the all right is considered one of the world's most dangerous criminal organizations. Last year, more than 200 people were sentenced to a total of more than 2,200 years in jail in one of Italy's biggest mafia trials for the generations. So we got to give Sister Superior, we got to give Mother Superior her cut. He's demanding more. We got to cut her off. The things that we do, the things we do, folks. It's amazing, isn't it? On to the next story. Back to the United States. Oh, looky here. ATM. You might want to. You might want to listen to this one. Investigators uncover orgy. VA official had sex with over 32 different coworkers at Tennessee Veterans Hospital. Several top veteran affairs officials in Tennessee resigned as an internal investigation and a broader congressional probe into alleged sexual misconduct intensified. Breitbart News has learned. Congressional investigators discovered that one man who resigned, whose name they would not tell, all right, but sources familiar with say was a bargaining unit biomedical employee, had dozens of sexual relationships with women who worked at the Mountain Home VA Medical Center in Tennessee. In fact, the congressional investigators told Breitbart News this one man slept with no fewer than 32 different women who worked there, and the man and several other women bragged about their exploits on an online group forum on government communications portal that the VA officials use to communicate about veteran health care and facility operations. You put it on a government website. You know how they talk about, oh, they got the encrypted dark web and these groups hide. They don't need to hide. These people are so brazen, they're putting it on government websites. What's more, sources familiar with the congressional investigation told Breitbart News they uncovered that an orgy of at least 12 officials who work at the facility took place. It's unclear at this time whether the orgy happened on a governmental property at the VA facility or on site, but the mere fact that dozens of government workers employed there did this is astounding. No, it's astounding that they sit up there and were talking about it in a government chat room. Oh my god! Oh. Regardless of the location of the orgy, at least two employees of the facility have admitted to having sex on the grounds of the VA hospital. The fact that the culture would even allow this to happen in the first place is absolutely wild. Poor choice of words, dude, said a senior congressional aide. These guys just can't help but digging themselves into a further hole. Oh my God. The scandal threatens to upend the closing days of outgoing Democrat President Joe Biden's administration and could engulf senior officials like VA Secretary Dennis McDonough. McDonough was former President Barack Obama's White House chief of staff for Obama's second term before Biden later named him to be VA Secretary in the administration. Former President Donald Trump, now the president elect, again has won the 2024 presidential election in a landslide, has named former Representative Doug Collins of Georgia to lead the VA in his upcoming administration. Collins may find serious issues from the Biden administration to clean up in his front office. Oh my God. He may be cleaning up more on his desk than he thought. Just put it out. Meanwhile, in the, in the other parts of the world of the United States. America's top internet sleuths have refused to help law enforcement officials track down the assassin of the United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson. The 50-year-old father of two was gunned down earlier this week, with the footage of his assassination circulating on social media amidst an ongoing manhunt for his killer. Typically, this type of high-profile violent crime sets platforms including TikTok and X alight with buzz, with amateur internet sleuths hunting to root out the perpetrator. But many armchair detectives have decided to keep scrum. I don't know what the hell that word is. I've never even seen that word. I guess quiet, all right. Even as eerie details filtered out earlier this week, including a hidden message left on shell casings at the scene. One of those who opted to stand aside was Savannah Sparks, who has 1.3 million followers on TikTok. Sparks tracks down the identities of racists who are caught in viral videos, and according to NBC, has been tapped by law enforcement to help train officers on finding suspects online. When asked by the outlet if she was working to find the suspect in Thompson's murder, she said, "Absolutely effing not." Fellow TikTok sleuth, that Danish guy, I guess is what it's supposed to be, who boasts 2 million followers on the platform, posted a video of him being critical of the healthcare industry. In it, he says, "I don't have to encourage violence. I don't have to condone violence by any means. But I don't have to help." Michael McWhorter, better known as Tizzy Ent in TikTok, said in a video, "I have yet to see a single video that's pounding the drum of, we have to find him, and that is unique." He told his 6.7 million followers, "I don't think it's that difficult to figure out why. There isn't a single person in this country who hasn't themselves or had someone very near and dear to them suffer from the abysmal thing that is privatized healthcare." Dude, you're an idiot. You're an idiot. You and the rest of your little freaking TikTok buddies are a bunch of freaking morons. You don't have to like the guy. But you're one of the dumbasses who believes that somehow if healthcare was done by the government, it would be better. You're an idiot. The overall disdain has been highlighted by a new Gallup poll released on Friday that found that Americans believe that healthcare quality is at a 24-year low. Well, gee, how could that be? When we're at a 24-year-old 24-year high about government intervention in healthcare. And yet you think healthcare is low? Gee, I wonder why. Look, a guy sit up there and assassinated and shot this CEO, and so far has gotten away in New York City. Right? They claim that they don't think he's in the city anymore. I think that might be true. Could not may not be true. Who knows? We don't know really what's true or what isn't in this scenario. But I can tell you that it's unusual in a place like New York to get away with these kind of things with the amount of cameras and everything in this area. But the other reason why it's unusual is it's a, yeah, I shouldn't say unusual, but it goes back to people don't care. People don't care if they're murdered. Somebody gets murdered near them, they think that well, that's a job for the police. It's not a job for me to do anything about it. Yeah, it's not unusual these days. Dutch leaders have expressed their shock on Saturday after a huge apartment building explosion in The Hague, which left at least 4 people injured. Shocked by the terrible images of a collapsed apartment building in The Hague, said Prime Minister Dick Schoof wrote on the social platform X on Twitter. Right, King William Alexander and Queen Maxima, right, have also reacted, saying, "We sympathize with all those who have been personally affected or fear for the fate of their loved ones." The apartment building in The Hague partially collapsed on Saturday morning following a powerful explosion, leaving at least 4 people injured. The victims include a child, were transported to the hospital for treatment. Emergency services, including a specialized urban search and rescue team, are continuing to search and rescue operations, as officials warned that the number of victims could rise to around 20. The incident occurred in the Tarwekamp Street in the northeastern Mariehove district of The Hague. Images from the scene below from the scene show, that the facade of several apartment buildings have been swept away. The apartment building houses shops on the ground level and 2 residential floors above. The cause of the explosion remains unclear. Police reported that a car was seen speeding away from the scene shortly after the explosion. Authorities are appealing for witnesses who may have seen the vehicle to come forward. I'm not really sure. Excuse me. I'm not really sure what this is about. Okay, there's so far a considerable lack of information as to what this could be. As far as I know, somebody hears an explosion on a building, a car seen speeding away. Could it be the guys who did the explosion? Sure. Could it just be people going, "I'm getting the hell out of here"? Sure. All right. Um, it could be any number of things. Could be somebody who there's an injured person and was driven straight to the hospital. We don't know. Apartment buildings generally do not blow up. Perhaps this was just a gas explosion. They do happen, believe it or not. The fact that they haven't said anything more, though, makes me wonder whether or not this was a Terry incident. And you think that America is all screwed up, huh? Slapping death. Healer jailed for killing a woman 71 who died during a bizarre slapping therapy workshop. If you're paying to be slapped by somebody, if this is a new therapeutic methodology, I guarantee you there's plenty of people who would line up to help you out, issuing the treatments as well. A disturbing self-proclaimed healer who failed to get help for a dying grandma, right, during a slapping therapy workshop has been jailed. Hong Chi Zhao, 61, ran bizarre Padilla Lajin therapy events in which patients would either be slapped or repeatedly slap themselves. But Danielle Carr-Glum, 71-old diabetic woman, died after attending one of the week-long workshops in Said, Wiltshire, in October of 2016. Just 18 months earlier, Zhao was prosecuted for the death. Now, just 18 months earlier, this guy had been prosecuted over the death of a 6-year-old boy while his parents withdrew his insulin medication after attending another of his workshops. Zhao has openly criticized the use of insulin and had previously written that doctors are brainwashed. The alternative healer, right, who was extradited from Australia to face trial in Britain, was convicted of gross negligence manslaughter in Winchester Crown Court earlier this year. Um, if his session is a slapping session and he's calling this therapy, you would think that maybe we need to. I've never heard of slapping as a therapy for women. All right, that have diabetes. So they're gonna slap the diabetes right out of you. Meanwhile, in Washington State, a glamorous Washington State lawmaker bullied a male aide into sex, then made him run her errands and tried to fire him when he reported her, a lawsuit claims. Emily Close, all right, 30, is said to have begun a mutually consensual dating relationship with an unnamed man after being elected as commissioner in Thurston County, which includes the state capital of Olympia. But the aide alleges he felt unable to reject Close's advances because of the power she held over him and says he found the romance increasingly unwelcome. It's clear to the plaintiff, however, that if the plaintiff wanted to remain employed, he would need to continue his personal intimate relationship of a sexual nature with the Commissioner Klaus, the claim alleges. Klaus is said to have exploited the man into driving her around, buying her food and drinks, and loaning her cash, which he says she never repaid, the Spokane Spokesman Review reported. He branded her an abuser and reported her behavior to Thurston County Human Resources Department on July 26th. Klaus, who was sworn into her role in November of 2023, tried to fire him 30 minutes later, subsequently accused the aide of sexually assaulting her. The aide says other Thurston County officials tried to suppress his claims, allegedly asking him, "What amount of money would it take to make his claims go away?" He was put on administrative leave, which the aide says gave him the impression of being guilty of wrongdoing. Okay. Now, first of all, the warning signs were there, dude. The warning signs were there. Right? You would think that the warning signs of don't stick your dick in crazies, they were there. In a statement last week, Close's lawyer, Maria Robbins, said that Close had just recently ended a relationship with a colleague, but did not specify if it was the aide in question. Both the dating relationship and the employment relationship recently ended. The county has chosen to investigate that the relationship out of an abundance of caution. The suit says the combination of Close and Thurston County's alleged behavior caused the aide's prolonged stress, physical harm, and emotional distress, embarrassment, trauma, and humiliation. It was filed 2 months after a separate lawsuit filed against the county by the same aide seeking $750,000 in damages. The second suit was filed by lawyers for the aide earlier this week over claims that Thurston County failed to take the initial legal claim seriously. Klaus was suspended from her duties in August while a probe was launched into her alleged abuse. She remains a voting member of the Thurston County Board of Commissioners, but has been banned from representing the county in public. Klaus tried and failed to get herself reinstated to all her appointments last week. Her lawyer, Maria Robbins, branded the AIDS allegations against her fiction. The allegations in the complaint are absurd on the face and have already been dispelled by internal workplace investigation. Yeah, this is someone you find at the Chaz, folks. You guys in Thurston County elected this in the Chaz. Good job. Oh my goodness. Battery charge for racist Nick Fuentes. Nick Fuentes, the notorious far-right racist slash anti-Semite, has been charged with battery for the confrontation outside of his Illinois home with a woman who is said to who who said she was maced and shoved to the ground by the scrawny white supremacist. Fuentes, 26, was booked on misdemeanor count last Wednesday at the police headquarters in Berwyn, the Chicago suburb where he lives, according to documents obtained by the Smoking Gun. After Fuentes walked into the station lobby on November 27th, he was escorted to the booking area where he was searched for weapons and fingerprinted. After signing a criminal citation and a notice to appear in court on December 19th, Fuentes was escorted back to the publicly accessible lobby and released. The battery charge against Fuentes stems from a November 10th incident outside his home Avenue residence. Maria Rose, a 57-year-old Berwyn resident, told cops that after seeing an online Fuentes post in regards to women's rights that declared "Your body, my choice," she decided to record a video of Fuentes' Berwyn property. While recording, Rose said a female passerby encouraged her to go speak with Nicholas, and so she rang his front doorbell. Fuentes opened the door and allegedly immediately sprayed her in the face with pepper spray, pushed her with both hands on her upper body, causing her to fall backwards down the stairs and onto the concrete below. Fuentes then grabbed Rose's phones and momentarily went inside his house before coming back out. The passerby told police that after Fuentes sprayed Rose in the face with what she believed was pepper spray, Rose was pushed to the ground and Fuentes grabbed her phone and threw it against the concrete floor. A video recorded by Rose shows Fuentes, seen above, pointing an object at Rose, who says, "Oh my God, what are you doing here?" He can be heard saying, "Get the F out of here," after Rose's phone falls to the floor. The phone continues recording from inside Fuentes' phone as he kicks the device and locks the door. Doesn't seem like he grabbed the device at all. It seems like he kicked the device. All right, but we don't know. Questioned by the Berwyn Police Department officer, Fuentes said that he had posted a political joke online and for the past 3 days has been getting online death threats and people showing up at his house unannounced. All right, which left him in fear for his life, becoming uncooperative with the cop and refused to speak about or answer any questions with regard to the incident with Marla. Okay, I'm sorry, I called her Maria. It's Marla. All right, the responding officer observed that Marla's eyes to be watery, but no other physical injuries. After initially being unwilling to sign the complaint against Fuentes, Rose contacted the cops last week and advised that she had opted to press charges. Rose, records show, provided cops with the iPhone she had used to record Fuentes. Rose told cops that a sealed envelope had been mailed to her home and that she was afraid to open it. The envelope, sent by Miami by your Republican congressman, was opened by the cops and found to contain several papers related to President-elect Donald Trump, Nick Fuentes' Berwyn, Illinois, and other memes. The envelope was placed in evidence for selling safekeeping. Okay. I've been wondering where this your body, my choice bullshit came from. So basically, it came from this guy who stood up there and posted a joke on Twitter. All right. Now, do I approve of Nick Fuentes? No. Do I think he was in the right to pepper spray this bitch at his home? 100%. 100%. She was engaging, and as part of an engagement, in a harassment campaign. Did he deserve to be harassed? Perhaps. But you don't come to somebody's home with what is obviously ill intent. Because that's what this was. You can say what you want about it, but if you have someone standing outside your home, recording your home, and then coming up to your door and banging on your door, especially after getting death threats and everything else, and I'm sure he was, what do you think was going to happen, bitch? I'm sorry. Marla got what she deserved. Did Nick Fuentes get what he deserves, or should he be charged? Hey, it's going to get dropped. It's going to get dropped. For the most part, all this is going to end up being dropped because she did go into this, okay, with ill intent. She had no reason for knocking on his door other than to quote unquote try and confront the guy in his home. All right. Why did you try to confront him in his home? Why did you decide to go and bother him? Because he had put a post on Twitter? Sorry. Pee on Hamas stickers lining New York City streets. Central Park designed to fool anti-Semites. Pee on Hamas labels being sold on Instagram, all right, have found their way into the Upper West Side utility poles, trash cans, street signs, and fire hydrants in Central Park. The stickers are meant to be stuck on things like light posts for dogs to relieve themselves on. They feature the silhouette of a dog relieving himself, and if placed low enough, passing pups can do their business on them as intended. Handsy anti-Semites prone to ripping down posters supporting Israel or Israeli hostages will end up with dog urine all over their hands if they try to remove the stickers. Oh, my God. They claim that all the people who sell these claim that all proceeds from their sales will be donated to Friends of the IDF under the name Peon Hamas. Uh, it's unique. I'll give them that. It's unique. By the way, these stickers cost quite a bit of money. Actually, it's like $2 for each one of these stickers. It's unfortunate. Peanut the squirrel can't rest in peace in New York. All right, his headless body is being held by the state as evidence. Evidence of what? Oh, Peanut can't rest in peace. The headline: the headless body of the world's most famous squirrel is currently being held in a refrigerated room somewhere in upstate New York, the Post has learned. The State Department of Environmental Conservation is preserving it as evidence from its agents harmed excuse me, from its agents' harried November raid on a home in Chemsung County, where they seized Peanut the squirrel and his raccoon pal Fred, and then euthanized the beloved pets, according to the agency spokesman. Their heads were cut off for rabies testing, which proved neither animal was infected with the deadly disease. The whereabouts and status of the animals' actual noggins remain an entire remain entirely unknown. The Department of Health spokesman refused to confirm the location of the remains or whether the critters had been shipped off to the agency's Wadworth Center's rabies lab in Slingerlands, citing pending litigation by the animal's grieving owner, Mark Longo. Longo had hoped to get his pet's bodies back for a formal burial and funeral. He said he immediately put in a request for the remains, but received only radio silence. They won't let me bury Peanut. They won't let me bury Fred. They refuse. Longo's lawyer, Nora Constance Marino, said she fired off notices of preservation of evidence to the DEC and Chungcheong County Sheriff's Office on November 4th, along with the Elmira Animal Control and Chungcheong County Health Department on November 14th. I want and expect the bodies of Peanut and Fred in their entirety to be returned to my clients, even if they're beheaded, even if they are in pieces. They're going to desecrate poor Peanut and Fred. Oh my God. Thinking of the marching hammers instead of hammer. Oh my gosh. Poor Peanut. The story for Peanut never ends. It never ends. Oh my goodness. All right, final few stories left, folks. Let's get to them, shall we? Canada man jumps on a polar bear to defend wife from an attack. This man has balls. All right. A man in Canada's far north leapt onto a polar bear to protect his wife from being mauled, police say. The unnamed man suffered serious injuries, but is expected to recover, according to the Nishabi Aski Police Service. The couple left their home around 5 a.m. local time, on Tuesday to find their dogs where when a bear, which was in their driveway of their home, lunged at the woman. The incident happened at the Fort Severn First Nation, a small community of about 400 people in the far north of Ontario. The woman slipped on the ground as her husband leapt on the animal to prevent its attack. The bear then attacked the male, causing serious injuries. Don't you love how they write this? The bear then attacked the male, as if the guy, it's not a human being. Instead of then attack the man, no, then attack the male. All right, causing serious but non-life-threatening injuries to his arms and legs. A neighbor arrived with a gun and shot the bear several times. It retreated into the woods where it died of its injuries. The man was transported to the community nursing station where he's being treated for injuries. The Nishnawbe Aski police said they continued to patrol the area to ensure that no other bears were roaming the community. Elijah McCall, a scientist at the Polar Bear International, told the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation that polar bears rarely attack humans. That's because there's not very many people in the Great White North. Normally, the bears are far from human settlements, instead preferring to spend their time hunting at sea hunting seals. But climate change has led to temperature fluctuations, breaking up ice, and in some cases, driving bears inland for food. You deserved it, you evil human being. If you're attacked by a polar bear, definitely do not play dead. It's a myth. Fight as long as you can. Okay. Let's talk about this for a moment. If they resurrect woolly mammoths, I'm getting what to do with. Yeah, let me tell you, if they bring back woolly mammoths and release them in the wild, I mean that would be awesome. Pachyderms roaming the American plains would be awesome. Just put it out there. But let's talk about this for a moment. Plain dead. Certain bears, if they're attacking you because they think you're a threat, if you play dead, will then say, okay, you're no longer a threat and walk away. But she's right when she says, don't try this with a polar bear. Because a polar bear is going to eat you. Okay, it's not gonna dig a hole and leave you for later. It's going to eat you right then and there. Okay? The only thing that saved this guy and this woman, quite frankly, was a neighbor with a gun. A guy who came out with a gun and shot the polar bear several times. All right? Those polar bears were probably white supremacists. Okay, she's not wrong about that. Meanwhile, the poor dolphins. Traces of fentanyl and other drugs found in bottlenose dolphins off the Gulf of Mexico. Corpus Christi, Mexico. Many of us know just how harmful fentanyl can be to humans, but what about animals? It's that was what several researchers from the Texas A&M University Corpus Christi are peeling back the layers after finding traces of the drug in bottlenose dolphins in the Gulf of Mexico. While conducting a routine boating survey in September of 2020, university researchers came across a dead dolphin floating in the water. They took the dolphin back to the research lab. Then, about 2 years later, they began to use the carcass for hormone blubber analysis, but came across the drug instead. When I started the project, we did what we call an untargeted study of blubber, where we put it in a very fancy instrument that is able to resolve all these compounds inside. We are looking for what we were looking for what we actually found. The doctoral student Michaela Ginn said. Ginn and her team work closely with the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, the Texas Parks and Wildlife, and Precision Toxicology Consultancy to begin conducting a more in-depth study. They also received support from the Fraser Family Foundation. All right, she told KRIS 6 news reporter Alexis Scott that there were more than 3,000 different compounds inside the dolphin's blubber. Within those compounds, were finding were findings of several pharmaceutical drugs, including sedatives and relaxants as well. At least 89 dolphin blubber samples were analyzed within the study, indicating that 83 collected through live dolphin biopsies and 6 from dead dolphins. Pharmaceuticals were found in 30 of the samples. Fentanyl was found in all 6 of the dead dolphins, according to the publications. It sounds like the dolphins found a drug stash. Okay, that's what it sounds like. Um, That's what it sounds like to me. The dead dolphins were were found with fentanyl, and the question is how did the dolphins get a hold of fentanyl? It could have been done a number of ways, to include assholes throwing the drugs to the dolphins. Right? Just putting it out there. Dolphins were having a party. Final story of the day, folks. Final story. A Florida family thought that they were being pranked after an inflatable Grinch Christmas decoration vanished from their yard, but security cam footage showed the thief was a not so jolly bear. Let's put this on, shall we? Let's go back to where this was in the woman here. Oh, that's Grinch. He was stealing my freaking cookies. Where's the cookies, Grinch? What's this cord doing here? Give me this dang thing. The bear before Christmas. The bear. The bear attacks the Grinch. This is what happens when your heart is 3 sizes too small. All right. Chinook Suarez said her family decorated their Golden Gate Estates home for Christmas in November, and on the day after Thanksgiving, they discovered their inflatable Grinch had been stolen. We were just dumbfounded. We were like, where did it go? Suarez said she suspected the incident had been a prank when neighbors texted her a few days later to say that the Grinch had been found 2 houses away from her home. The Dr. Seuss character was put back in place, but Suarez had received an alert from her security cam on Wednesday and checked it to see the bear attacking the Grinch. Apparently, this Grinch has an issue. This bear has an issue with the Grinch. I never expected it to be a bear. I thought it was the funniest thing ever. I literally texted my husband. I'm like, what is going on? We're texting back and forth, just rewatching the video, sending it to all our family members at 5 in the morning. The bear dragged the Grinch off to the nearby woods. Suarez and her family said they were able to find it later, but it's too damaged to make a return to the yard. It's a funny story to tell. I tell you what, Florida bears have been known to tamper with holiday decorations in the past. All right. Resident E.J. Livin shared a video last year of a bear attacking a lit up reindeer decoration in his yard. A lit up reindeer is one thing. All right. But this bear had it in for the Grinch. Either that or they were putting delectable, tasty treats on it or something. I don't know. But he had it in for that Grinch. He had it in for the Grinch. Okay, everybody. Hope that you all had a good day. Thanks for coming out, everybody. It's time for me to mosey on along to my world of my world from the past. I'll talk to y'all later. Bye bye.